What's up, everybody? It's Soren Baker, and today on Unique Access, we have the honor and the privilege of being joined by Smooth B.
Yes.
Thank you for coming through, sir.
Oh, man, my man, pots and pans. You know how we do, son. You're my brother, man.
Man, it's always an honor and a pleasure, man. And for those that haven't seen it, I did a couple of great interviews with Nice and Smooth that you guys definitely need to check out that are phenomenal. But Smooth B's got so many things going on, we had to have him come back. So
Yeah, man.
It's always great seeing you, man.
Absolutely, man. Great to be here, bro.
So, before we get to anything else, we got to talk about before.
Okay, bet.
So, Smooth B put out a phenomenal new song.
Yes.
Before.
Yes.
The video is great. If you guys haven't seen it, make sure to watch it after you check out the interview, and we'll put a little splice in. But Smooth B, what made Before the right song for you to reemerge?
Yeah, man. You know, well, like the song Before is a very special song to me, man, because it's like when you hear it, it's an introspective look into the world of Smooth B, you know. Like over the years, you know, of course, I was in a great partnership with, you know, Greg Nice and Smooth. And but at the same time, it was always searching for a balance for the records. And so over the last few years, we were doing a lot of different spot dates, different, you know, gigs here and there, so forth and so on. And people would come up to me, and I'm like, I always try to listen to the universe. I try to I pay attention to things. And I knew within myself, I was still writing, I was making different songs and so forth and so on. And, you know, sometimes in a partnership, in all times in any partnership, you have to agree totally on whatever it is you're pursuing.
Right.
So we would go through our different little things, and maybe my, partner, might not want to make a record at this time or whatever. So I started just feeling like creating and putting something out. So I started writing, going in the studio, putting some things together. And then as we would do the shows, people would come up to me after the shows, and I kept noticing this. Like, it was like a reoccurrence, and it just kept happening like a prompt. And it was like, people would come to me and go, "Yo, Smooth, you should do a solo album, man. It's long overdue." And I'd be like, "Oh, well, yeah, no doubt." Or, "Yo, you working on something, right?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, like, how you know?" You know what I'm saying? So I said, all right. I said, God is talking to me, you know? And so I just, kept on doing it. And what happened with Before was, when we were growing up in hip hop, I grew up in the Bronx, of course, for those that don't know, and I grew up amongst the originators and the pioneers, and I used to see Flash, at the time, of course, Grandmaster Flash, but at the time he was DJ Flash, and it was DJ Kool Herc, Africa Band. I used to go to the jams and so forth and so on as a kid. And, one thing was that I think Bam was the one that went far left with it. He would play all types of rock records, and he would infuse different types of music.
That's where the craft work comes from.
There you go. You feel what I'm talking about? So he kept it strong and always inventive and so forth and so on. So he always had you wondering, what record was that? What record was that? Where did that come from? And so that brought in my sense of listening to rock. And listening to groups like Soren and Queen and We Will Rock You. That was an intricate part of hip hop. And so along that journey, I stumbled across Sir Elton John at a young age. So I had a neighbor. Note this, in the 70s, and all of my associates, all my partners, and Dane, everybody, they can attest to this. Growing up in New York, especially in the 70s, it was like a melting pot. So you was in your building, you had Latino, Jewish. I had Jewish neighbors. I had Filipino neighbors. You know what I'm saying? And in the holidays, we would all come together and partake and add on to, each other's culture, learn about each other, so forth and so on. Well, anyway, one of my little friends, he turned me on to Elton John back in the days. And it was a song, Crocodile Rock. That was the first song I ever heard by Sir Elton John. And then Benny and the Jets. This dude is dope, and so, as a kid. And so I hadn't heard this song, I guess that's why they call it the blues. I hadn't heard that in over 20 years. Okay. And so, and what I did, like I do often, they consider it an interpolation, where you take the original joint and then I put my hip hop swag on it, like How to Flow, all of those early Nice and Smooth routines or whatever. I would write them with my favorite songs in mind, and I flip them in a hip hop form. All right, fine. I go in this store. I go in a 99-cent store,
Okay.
All right, Soren. Now, for those of you that don't know, a 99-cent store in California is like a supermarket. They're big, you can buy food, you can buy all types of stuff in there, you know. So I'm walking down the aisle, and over the speaker, I guess that's why they call it the blues, comes on. And I was like, oh, and I stopped in my tracks. I was in the middle of the aisle. I pulled my phone out and put it on Shazam. And I put it up, and I was like, yo. And then I looked, I said, yo, man, Elton John, yeah. So I just stood there and I'm listening to the song, and that really sparked it. Like, I was like, because at that moment in time, it was damn near a tearjerker, Soren, to be honest with you, because, you know, over these last couple of years, I had some family losses. I lost one of my brothers, you know, so forth and so on. So I was just, it took me on a journey to my childhood in a matter of 5 minutes. And I was just standing there. And I told my wife, because she was walking with me until I stopped. She thought I was still walking with her. She walked in her head with the cart. And I'm standing there shazamming. So she turned around like, what you doing? I was like, there's some shit happening. You know, so long story short, I told her, I said, I got it. I got the song, I got the routine. So she was like, yeah. I went home and I started writing before. And that's why I started off. When I was young, I had to beat the clock before. I was the first one with Pumas on the block before. And I just started talking about different things that I had experienced growing up. And yes, everything on the song is factual. Yes, I did really hit a nigga in the head with a lock and a sock before. And I smoked several blunts with Tupac before. So, yeah.
Well, that was one of the things that I liked it because, alluding to the work with Nice and Smooth, I always enjoyed how you wove, even if it was a braggadocio song,
right,
you wove in a story either about yourself or about someone else into the song.
Right.
And you know, that was from the self-titled debut album all the way up till now we're doing it with Before again. So why is that something that's always so special and always works so well for you, do you think?
I think, you know, basically because it's my truth. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's the strongest foundation I could come to. You know, yeah, I mean, I'm blessed. I'm a very creative dude. My imagination is just vast. I trip out. But at the same time, you know, I find that when I hit home with topics of things of my experience, you know, not only does it make me write it even better, but in the process, like songs like Sometimes I Rhyme Slow or different songs like that in the past, they either heal people. People come up to me and say, yo, that song helped me through that. And I'm like, word. And so that was something that I recognized back in the days. If I could tell my truth, if I could tell aspects of my life and then it helps or motivates someone else, then I guess I'm doing God's work. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that speaks to the power of what you've done, both now coming out more as a solo artist, but also with Nice and Smooth, in the sense that I always thought it was amazing. Obviously, I study your music, of course, but the thing is that most people that listen to the music that I knew that I grew up with or later that I was friends with in college or something that liked you guys, it was more because it was fun.
Yes.
But your lyrics often had a much deeper philosophical element to it.
Absolutely.
And that to me is what makes it powerful.
Yes.
And that power, I think we see again on Before.
Yes. Thank you.
And it's with the Sox, with the Tupac, because you're bringing in these autobiographical elements, even if they're only a line or two. It stops to make you think. You know?
Right, son. My man.
And that's, to me, one of the many reasons I think the record is so powerful. But the other thing I wanted to get on a very related note is, as somebody that came out and has been prominent since the 80s till today, since there's an age thing with rap,
right,
what made you know and be confident and believe that this was going to work?
Oh, man. I like you, son. You ask great questions, man.
Thank you.
You know, the thing was, you know, like you said, coming up how I came up and seeing the things that I saw and having the different experiences, I just wasn't satisfied with the state of hip-hop, and to be truthfully honest with you.
Okay.
And when we were coming up, I mean, this thing really means something to me, man. I really love this thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I really can't shake it. And it's kind of sad that no other musical genre has a ceiling that pertains to age.
Right.
except for hip hop. That's ridiculous.
Right.
As long as you can do it, do it, you know? And so I sat down and I was really honest with myself. And I asked myself a series of questions over the last year. And I was like,
Okay.
what are you dissatisfied with? What brings you joy? And I just kept asking myself all these questions, particularly about the industry, particularly about my craft. And I started to realize, like, man, I started to lose some of the love for my craft due to the industry. And that's not supposed to happen, really. I mean, it's a natural thing when you go through enough stuff and you go through all manner of frustration and what seems to be insurmountable odds. And then, you know, we come from 2-inch reels,
Right.
you know, carrying reels when things were tangible. You know what I'm saying?
Carrying records.
Right, carrying records, touching them. You know, it was a whole nother feel. And you know, now it's digital but you know, you gotta look at it's all perception. Because the abilities that we have now, where things are at the push of a button, you know, I could send music to the other side of the world in 3 minutes, 1 minute. You know what I mean? And that's amazing when you stop and think about it. So I said, you know what? Let me start to really, really get into it, learn some of these formats, and really, you know what I'm saying, and rock out. And so the thing was, back to this one, when I started to see the lack of creativity, you know, I'm not saying it's not, but some of the stuff, you know, we know, man.
Right.
You know, and it's not always, I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, I get it. Maybe it's just a vibe. You don't have to necessarily know what someone is talking about. But as far as hip hop has come,
Right.
and so many ways, you know, and the people that hold the platform that really like just pave the way and open the doors go unnoticed. People don't even know who they are. You know what I'm saying? Due to a lack of how would you say research. You know what I mean? A lack of information. And now we're in the information highway. So that's what I would tell the younger generations, you know, like, come on, man, Google me, Barbara. You know what I'm saying? Like, find out who was doing it before you. It'll make your journey even better. You know what I'm saying? So that was a point. I said, you know what? Enough is enough. Because before, like I was saying, when we came up, still sharp and still. You know what I'm saying? It was like you had amazing storytellers like Dana Dane and Slick Rick, but they were different from Biz Markie and Chuck D, and different from KRS-One and Big Daddy Kane, and different from the Fresh Prince, and different from LL. You know what I'm saying? Everybody had different styles, and everybody had an amazing contribution, and Roxanne Shante. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, so long story short, I said I got tired of waiting for the steel to sharpen the steel. I got to reach for the steel within myself, man.
One thing I've noticed, and this happens to me myself, because of how life is so fast, we often react instead of think.
Mm-hmm.
And you said something very important, which was you said, I thought about it.
Yeah.
So what made you take that moment or these moments over that year to really stop and think, like, what is I like about this? What is I don't like about it? What do I miss? What do I want?
I tell you, man, that all kind of comes from my upbringing, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because, you know, like, I'm the youngest of 5. I had 4 older brothers, you know what I'm saying? My mom was an avid reader, you know what I'm saying? And me being the youngest, she put a lot of pressure on my head because she was like, I'm going to get this one right, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, my 2 older brothers, they, you know, they were like always had, you know, good jobs and stuff like that. And then the younger, the twins, so it's Michael, Charles, Richard, and Robert. My brothers, Richard and Robert, we call them Shake and Blue. So they are like they're like hood heroes. People know them throughout New York, various boroughs, from every form of hustling. And when I was a kid, I visited every institution, every jail institution on earth, I think, damn near. From Rikers Island, Sing Sing, Elmira. My mom used to take me to all of these places wherever they were locked up, you know, and so from young, it just was crazy. Like, though I admired all my brothers and they were just like the flyest and the hippest, you know, it always was a fork in the road. Like, you could do like them or you could do like them, and be yourself and mold. So,
All in your own family.
right.
That's
all
crazy.
within, all right in the box, you know. But the thing was, they always, like, even my brothers, they instilled the patience in me. Like my brothers came out, they always had a morality tale for me. Like, you don't want to do that. Going to jail is not cool, little nigga. You know what I'm saying? I'll bust your ass if I see you doing this. You're not supposed to do this. I know I did this. That's not for you. That's they always, and they would say, think. And they would tell me, stop, think. And they see me, you know what I'm saying? And it's like God, man, he plays a strange role in your life sometimes, you know. Because, you know, growing up after they had more moved out, then it was on me. And so I had to make my own bones in the hood, you know what I'm saying? But they always would come around like in pivotal times. Like pop up. Yo, what you doing, man? I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm getting ready to go over there. You look a little uptight. What's going on? And see me slipping a little knife in my bag. Look, what you doing? Nah, man, this dude trying to apply pressure. I'm about to poke this nigga. They be like, oh, no. Come on, I can handle that. You know what I'm saying? And they just start coming through and handling shit. I'd be like, okay, man, go back upstairs, read them books. You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, I want to have some fun. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, so that they kept instilling that in me to stop and think. Stop, think. And of course, you know, man, I done made tons of errors and mistakes and shit. But, you know, God, you know, I'm thankful that at the right times I was able to stop and think, you know.
Well, it's very important, and I think people don't, because of how everything is so fast and at our fingertips with our phones and everything else, we just react and we don't think. So that's why I think it's important that you said that. But, but thinking is one thing, but then you had to put it in motion.
Yeah, you gotta.
So then how did you decide you have these realizations, these epiphanies, but then you moved on them?
Man, let me tell you something. Oh, go ahead.
No, go.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell you. Here's the deep part. After I come to all of these different epiphanies, I'm writing the songs, I'm listening to the songs. You know, one of my uncles, he's an old man, this OG, he's in his 80s, and he always comes up with all sorts of ill sayings. So one of my favorites that he says, and he's very like theatrical with it, and he goes, my smoothie, Uncle Linwood, shout out to Uncle Linwood, he goes, my smoothie, the mind is like an umbrella. It works better when it's open. Keep an open mind. And he'd tell me stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, right? Or he'd say, he just would hit me with shit like that. Oh, and he'd be talking. He said, yes. We hold long conversations, and he'll say, yes, that's a brilliant thought. Yes, I see that you're concentrating, you're focusing. But my smoothie, be careful of analysis paralysis. So that's what he would just say to me. And I was like, yo, Unc, you are bugged out. He was like, yes, if you analyze too much, you will be paralyzed. You have to do. So I'd be like, all right, Unc, you know. So I started thinking about it, you know, again. I said to myself, shit, I started listening to all types of music that I had. I gave my son a task a few years ago. I said, listen, I would go on the road and I would meet different artists and they would all give me their CDs. And half of the time I didn't get a chance to hear any of their stuff. And I don't like to not be up on something or at least try to respond to somebody, whatever, you know. But life, like you said, everything is moving and you got responsibilities on. So I gave my son this task. I said, look, all these CDs, I want you to listen to all of these shits. You're going to be my little A&R in the house. I want you to listen to everybody's work. And I said, when you hear something that's dope, then you come back and you let me hear it. I said, and I want you to take these CDs and I want you to put them in a file for me, you know. Download them to your laptop, put them in a file. You know, my thing was, this is a new generation. So my kids say, yo, I want a Mac, I want this. I'm like, yeah, get the MacBook, get the laptop, whatever. I don't know nothing about it. I don't know how to work. You learn that. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm like, all right, now you can download music to that motherfucker. Download all these CDs. So long story short, one day, maybe about like a year and a half ago, my son, he came in and he said, Dad, do you remember that song you did? And I did this song called Flowers. And he said, you remember that song? And I said, yeah. He said, when the last time you listened to it? I said, about 2 years. He was like, no, you gotta listen to that shit, Dad. And when I listened to it, it was almost as if it was prophetic, but it was so deep, it was fly, and it brought tears in my eyes. I was like, damn. I said, that's a dope song. He said, Dad, no, listen to this. And he just started playing a lot of my older shit that I did like 5 years ago, 10 years. And I was like, all this shit is fire. And he was like, you bugging, Pop. You better start putting some of this shit out. I was like, all right, you right. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, then I came to that epiphany. Analysis paralysis. I hear my uncle, analysis paralysis. So I was like, you know, I got to start putting this shit out. Mind you, when I came across the before and everything, it was a prompt. It was like God was saying, no. Like I couldn't dude, yo, Soren, I couldn't back from the time I actually wrote it and everything, and I went in the studio and recorded it, I couldn't get the song out my mind.
Wow.
And I was like, I gotta put this out. So, man, the funny part about it was, I had this one song, Betrayal, and it was motivated, it was inspired by my brother Blue. And, you know, Blue passed away, but I had taken music from the Stylistics, and it was Stop, Look, Listen. So I used that music, and I told an ill story rhyme on it about betrayal and all that. Woo! And that was a tough joint, and I was like, this shit, I gotta put this out, because I was just thinking about my brother. I was just filled with the emotion and everything that I had went through writing the song and the whole experience. And so I was like, I'm gonna put that out first, and I'm gonna shoot a video for it, and then I'll come with Before in my mind. I was like, then I'm gonna come with Before. And so I was preparing for it. But that video in and of itself, it's an epic story, but the song is like 7 minutes long.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's dope though. Like when you listen to it, you get caught in it. But you know, the mechanics of the game, you know, so it's like 7 minutes, damn. But everybody listen to it be like, yo, dude, that's one of the craziest stories I've ever heard in my life. I'm like, thanks, man, thanks, you know what I'm saying? And so I was still on it though, because of the theme and the purpose of the song. And so I was still thinking about it. And then shout out to Big Eye God, that's my business partner, right? I came to New York and we were kicking it, we was riding around, and I started playing songs for him. And he was like, oh shit, this is fine, this is fine. And I was like, yeah, I played Betrayal. And he was like, yo, Smooth, you never lost it, man. He was like, that line, the shit you saying. I was like, yeah, man. I said, yeah, I'm gonna come with that first. And he was like, yeah, that'll be dope. And I said, matter of fact, let me let you hear this other joint I did. And I played Before. And he was like, no, Smooth, this has gotta be the one. And I was like, it's okay, man, don't worry about it. It's coming next, you know what I'm saying? And he was just like, no, Smooth, you don't understand. No, that's the one. He said, plus it's like 3 minutes, it's under 3. It's perfect for radio and all that. I was like, But I was in my artist zone. I was like, nah, fuck that. 7 minutes is an artwork of art. You know, I'm going into my shit, right? So I go home, I fly back to LA. And then he called me like 2 days later, and he was like, when you gonna put out that joint Before, Smooth? And I was like, after Betrayal. And he was just like, Smooth, I'm telling you, man. And he just kept on me. Come on, man, I'm telling you, Smooth, then you could do Betrayal. I'm telling you, because you know, the Betrayal's a period piece. Because I'm talking about the 80s and all that. And he was like, it's a period piece. You want a bigger budget for it. Put Before out right now. And I was like, this nigga. And then the funny part, so I came back to New York one time. I came back to New York. And this director, shout out to Benji Films. We had been going back and forth. And he just happened to be like, I came in New York and he was in LA. Okay. And then I guess he saw me on Instagram or whatever. He's like, Smooth, where you at? And I'm like, in New York. He's like, I'll be back in New York tomorrow. He was like, you want to shoot your video? Oh, wow. And the shit just was crazy because he was busy and running and all that. And our schedules just kept conflicting. But at that moment, he said, I'm flying in. I'll be in tomorrow. You want to shoot your video this weekend? And I was like, oh, shit. Let's go. And then we just did Before, man.
Well, I like in the video that you do have the Apollo, and it's really in the streets. It's not some studio. It's not this or that. So what was the creative angle to do it that way? Oh, man, let me tell you something. And it's so crazy. That Before is my directorial debut. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yo, dude, when he said to me, you want to shoot your video this weekend? I said, yeah. Now, mind you, I'm fully aware. I love the song Before. So, like, when I listen to music, I see visions. I see visuals. You know what I'm saying? I can listen to your music. I can listen to anybody's music. And I'll sit there and he'll be like, yo, and right after you play the song, I'll be like, you know what I can see? I can see something like, you know what I mean? So I always saw, when I did Before, I said, I'm gonna bring this back to the hood. With this song, I'm gonna be back on the block, and I'm gonna go to all my favorite places. Right. And so, the irony was, when we actually was talking on the phone and he said, I'm flying in tomorrow, I was on 125th Street standing by the Apollo. Wow. So I said, I'm looking at the fucking Apollo. I was like, all right, I bet. So when he came, I was like, I just was standing there. I was like, this is a scene. Now I just went home that night and I was like, yes, I gotta go to Madison Square Garden.
These places you have to understand. As a kid, my mom took me to my first Knick game
Okay.
in Madison Square Garden. And then also she enrolled me because she was trying to keep me off the streets. And she enrolled me in New York Mission Society Cadet Corps. A lot of people in the Bronx know where that was on, and it was on 170th Street and Jerome Avenue. And that place, you know, man, saved a lot of kids, man, and people went on to do different great things, you know, like in law, and, you know, a lot of people, you know, bounced from there and, you know, had a shot. Very inspirational program. Took you different places through them. They took me. I met Michael Jackson. Pardon me. I met Muhammad Ali. You know, they took us for a trip to Muhammad Ali's training camp and so forth, and just different stuff. And I end up being like a little young spokesperson for them. Like I did charity events. I did lectures as a kid. Like when I was 13, I did my first television commercial for them, and it was on Channel 11. Then I did Madison Square Garden at the Felt Forum, because every year they would have this big drill team competition, because they had the drill team and they had this marching band, the Warriors. And so, man, so I did speech in the Felt Forum. I was the valedictorian. I did their first television commercial. It's just different things, you know what I'm saying? So Madison Square Garden holds a significance to me as growing up. And so I said, I'm taking it back to the Garden. I'm taking it to the Apollo because, you know, as a kid, of course, man, I went to, you know, concerts with my brothers at the Apollo. So Parliament Funkadelic in the Apollo. I mean, like, just as a kid, blowing my wig back, blowing my mind back, you know. And so these all were features and parts of my life that made me even want to be an entertainer. And then one of my most memorable moments, you know, with Nice and Smooth was when we actually got a chance to headline the Apollo. And oh man, that was an amazing show, man. And it'll be with me, you know. So I said, I'm come back to the Apollo. Then I took it to Bedford Park Boulevard. Now that's my hood. That's where I grew up. That's part of where I grew up. So in the video, you'll see 183rd and Webster in the Bronx. You know, that's my wife's family over there. And so I basically lived there. And I was there, Bedford Park Boulevard. And it was crazy because I really was bent on it when I saw the Joker. And he jumped off the train at Bedford Park. I said, what is my man doing on Bedford Park? Man, if you don't stop playing with me, Joker. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, that's my block, Joker. So, you know, I said I got to bring it back to Bedford Park, you know. And so you see all of those were the spots, the pizza shop. I used to go to that pizza shop for years. So when I walked up in there, it was so crazy because the old timer was in there. The old timer, he's just looking at me, how you doing? I was like, what's up, man? Yo, we shooting a video. And we just did the scene in the pizza shop, you know, and coming across Fordham Road.
What you were saying is stopping and thinking and visualizing these things, because to go from going to the Apollo to headlining the Apollo just shows, you know, the evolution of the mind and the progression of your career and your thoughts and all those other things. So what was it like going to it and then being able to do the headline, like the difference of how the feeling of that was?
Ooh, yo, let me tell you something. It was kind of crazy. It was like, it was almost synonymous. Like, all right, give an example. I'm sitting in the audience and it just feels special. You know, back then, events, I believe, meant more to kids in a way.
Because there weren't as many.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
It was an event.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So to go there, you're just, you know, as a kid, it's like, I'm in the Apollo. You know what I'm saying? Like, wow. You know what I'm saying? I'm seeing the stars. People that I listen to this music in my house and they right there. You know, so that experience trip.
Yeah.
And then to always dream to perform there. So I used to go to the Top Dog. I used to go to the amateur nights, you know, just over the years, just watch the talent. You know what I'm saying? I'm in the back, you know what I'm saying, watching. Just visualizing and dreaming. One day, I want to be on that stage, man. I want to be on that stage and touch these people, you know? And when it actually happened, going to the sound check, I think,
Do you remember what year it was and who else was on the bill?
Oh man, it was 91. That was the year we headlined because we did the Apollo for the first time in '89.
Okay.
And we only had the single out, Early to Rise.
Mm-hmm.
But where our minds were, we were on some innovative. So we had check this crazy shit. We always would befriend somebody that, you know, it was just weird occurrences. And it's like we could always see diamonds in the rough. Like we actually met this guy, Ron Pinkerton, that's my man. He was the stage man. So he would build props in the Apollo, you know, for different groups and whatnot. So I can't even remember when we first met him. But when we first met him, we clicked and we snatched him so he would come on the road with us. When we first did the Apollo, he was like, so the song, he knew the song Early to Rise. He's like, I got an idea for you. So he built us these beds. So we had these pajamas on. And
that's crazy.
And we laying in the bed with a big giant alarm clock. So the alarm clock comes on. And then we get out the beds, Early to Rise, you know, it was like that type of thing. We rocked. And we only did Early to Rise, and I think more and more hits, because that was our single at the time. But what I remembered was just for that moment, when we got out the beds and we did our little performance and the song wasn't even bubbling yet, they clapped afterwards. They just clapped. And I was like, yo, they clapped for us, man. I said, okay, boom. And 2 years later, man, after that Hip Hop Junkies dropped, we were headlining. So it was us, Naughty by Nature, Nice and Smooth, Naughty by Nature, the Ghetto Boys, and Tim Dog.
Wow, that's a big...
Fuck Compton, Tim Dog, yeah. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And wait, no, the first show we was on with Biz headlines, of course, but that second, it feels like I'm missing a group. It was Nice and Smooth, Naughty by Nature, the Ghetto Boys, Tim Dog.
That's quite a lineup,
I think that's it, yeah.
That's quite a lineup.
Oh, man, and it was dope because everybody was bringing their A game, which was so dope. Like, Tim Dog, peace blessed be upon him, he passed away. But he had a giant dog house, so he comes out the dog. Oh, man, it was crazy. And, oh, man, we was on some bullshit. So this one, my man, Ron Pinkerton, he comes up with this idea. He says, okay, listen. Because at that time, we had some of the illest dancers. Shout out to Posse Deep. They're from Brooklyn. Dope. And Showtime, E-Boogie, Cornbread, Cliff Love, and Mike Swift. Well, Mike Swift was from the Bronx, but everybody else was from Brooklyn. And they were acrobatic. You know, they would, you know, if you know, anybody out there, y'all see, you go on YouTube and you can see Yo MTV Raps and all that, and you see these flying dancers. Okay. My man Ron Pinkerton said, watch what I'm gonna do. He said, I'm gonna make the stage like a giant sidewalk.
Okay.
With manhole covers. He said, then I'm gonna have you two up on swings. Now, I didn't know the Apollo was as high as it was. The shit was crazy to me. He said, I'm gonna have y'all go, he said, y'all gonna be like at the top. Y'all gonna be on swings. And then y'all gonna lower down. And as the intro music comes on, you're gonna come down. And as you're coming down, we're gonna time it. And as y'all coming down, right before y'all get to the stage, your dancers is gonna come out of manhole covers. Cause I'm gonna make it like a giant sidewalk with manhole covers, and they're gonna take the manhole covers out and come out and start dancing. And it's all right, bet. We get on those damn swings, man, and we started going up, 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 up. And I was like, oh shit. So we way up. I wouldn't look down. I was like, oh, this shit is stupid. So because all it is rope. Right. So the rope. So how he designed it, he put this sparkly material behind us. So when we actually came down, you couldn't see that we was holding on to the ropes. But as it came down, it looked like, you know how in the old Star Trek, and they say, beam me up, Scotty.
Oh, you're like floating?
Right. So it looked like we was floating down in glitter.
Oh, wow.
That shit looked so crazy. And we just came down, and then we stepped off the swings and started rocking and shit. Oh, man. And that show was amazing. And the balcony, we almost broke, the fans almost broke the balcony. The shit bugged me out. Like at a point, I was ready to say, all right, y'all gotta stop jumping. Because I literally saw the balcony rocking. And I was like, oh, shit, this is real, So it was beautiful, man. That show was amazing. I got a chance to bring my daughter out, Genesis. Shout out to Genesis. She was, 2 2 years old.
Oh,
And
wow.
I brought her out on the stage. And it was funny, she would always be quiet around Greg, right? And he was like, but I would tell him stories like, oh man, Jenny came and he was like, man, she can't talk. She can't talk. I never hear her talk. You know, and I was like, dude, she can speak. Nigga, so he was like, no, she can't talk. You know, so I brought out, I said, so I'm while we rocking, halfway through the show, actually toward the end of the show, we're about to do Hip Hop Junkies.
Okay.
So I knew Hip Hop Junkies was coming up, and I saw my wife on the side with her. And I see, because she had fell asleep earlier, so my wife was just carrying her. And so she's up, she hyped, trying to get to me. So I was like, let her go, come on. So she runs out on the stage with me, right? I said, what's up, Genesis? I said, this is my daughter, Genesis. So they was bugging up. And then I said, well, you want to say something? Go ahead, say something to the people, say hi. She just stood there. And I was like, okay. And I'm talking, so I'm like, you fronting? I'm just bugging out with her. So I said, I knew she loved Hip Hop Junkies. Okay. So I said, all we wanna do, and I put the microphone to her. She said, and you. And the crowd just started screaming, and then Hip Hop Junkies went, bah, 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 and then we just started tearing that shit down, man. But yeah, that was it.
Well, that's amazing because of many reasons. One of which ties into before is like Hip Hop Junkies, before, etc.
Right.
The thing about it is the music always sounded fun.
Yes.
Or often, not always.
Yes,
but
often. Right.
Often. Your guys in particular.
Right.
So what is it about, and that reminds you of a party, it reminds you of good times, it reminds you of, good things in your life.
Yes.
So also, why do you think that's been such a consistent thread through what you've done?
To be truthfully honest with you, it's deep because the original form that I was introduced to was party. Mm-hmm. So hip hop back in the days was party. It started off like, just have some fun with it. Mm-hmm. And then it evolved and then people started talking about different issues, which was amazing. I think the whole conscious, I would have to say that Melly Mel is basically like the father of conscious rap. Because when he came with the message, oh man, it changed the whole game.
And before you continue, I think it's very important that people, I think it's a lot of revisionist history because the sense of rap has always been political is not true.
No.
It was for years not.
Right.
And then that record really changed it.
Right.
Of course, people would put little things here and there, but that wasn't the focus of the music.
Right.
So
exactly.
But I think it's very important because people really get it messed up that rap's always been about a message or it's always been It hasn't been.
No.
And in fact, for years it was not.
No, not in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? And so it was just put your head on, your big on, the buck. You know what I'm saying? It was just some party. Party, have a good time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And back then, New York, man. I mean, I know ghettos was everywhere, but New York was like Beirut, man. This shit looked crazy. Like that's not a prop or a set. When you see the message video,
right?
And he's saying broken glass everywhere. You see them buildings and that scenery. That's in the South Bronx. That's over by Hoe Avenue. I know exactly where it is. And by Simpson and Tremont and all that. So I'm like, that shit was real. And so you had to make, before that, it had to be about the party to try to make people feel good about what they were going through, maybe escape some form of reality that they were experiencing,
Because even like the breaks, which was before that, it still felt good and it was kind of like, it had a festive feel even though he was talking about negative stuff.
Right.
Which is very different than the message which sounded whole other world.
Right, exactly.
So back to the question that, sorry for interrupting, but I thought that was important.
Yeah.
But I also think your guys' music, and now, now that you're going to embark on the solo thing for real, it just seems like the fun element, even in the midst, like hitting dude over the head with a sock or going to jail or whatever. But it's all
it's all encompassed.
Yeah, it all feels.
Yes, and that comes with maturity, Soren.
Yes.
Listen, man, I'm coming to make y'all have a good time, but I'm going to hit you in the head with some shit.
Right.
Hit your head with a lock. But
Please don't.
No. And I want it to be fun, man. I'm still gonna keep the fun element with it, but give it a comedic spin like that. Oh, wait a minute, a wordplay, and just have some fun with it, man. Sean, I gotta tell you this.
Okay.
I don't want to cut you. You
no,
probably
go ahead.
got some. I love your questions, man.
No, it's all good.
Look, I did before in Spanish. I call it the Spanish Fly Mix. And because in 1991, like when I first met Greg, we both had all types of amazing ideas, but I was like, yo, dude, one thing I want to do is I want to do songs in different languages. And he was like, what? Yeah, that's dope, that's dope. And I was inspired by Stevie Wonder. When he made Songs in the Key of Life, he had different languages. He had Swahili, Spanish, and all that. So I was like, yeah, shit, that's what I want to do too, And so we did a Spanish version of Hip Hop Junkies back in 1991 with a Spanish video. And back then, like Def Jam, they just thought we were Martians at a point. Like, it was like, what the fuck? Where are you guys from? You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, why? They would ask us, like, why you guys sing so much on the records? I'm like, well, what are you talking about?
I'm like,
why
did you
not?
hear Early to Rise? We've been
this
doing
is what
this.
We do, bro.
We've been doing this.
And so one of the other questions, one of the other ultimate whys was, we came in with a Spanish video. It was like, why did you guys sing this shit in Spanish? I'm like, why not?
Right.
And this is pre-reggaeton. Wasn't none of that shit out yet.
Right.
And we were like, me salí de la cama about 8. Después llamé a Gregnas porque no era muy late. A buscar las muchachas. You know what I'm saying? We on it. And they were like, so what the fuck we supposed to do with this? And I was like, what you supposed to do with it? Send it to the Spanish market. Let's do it.
Right.
So people at that time, back in the days, they were like, Smooth, you ahead of your time, man. You just ahead of your time. And now it feels good to be on time. You know what I'm saying? Because that shit started getting frustrating. I was often met with that. Why are you doing it like that? Now, the people that embraced it and loved it over the years, y'all was rolling with us. Y'all rocked with us. Y'all got it. But I have to tell you, internally, this shit was nuts. So, my boy Ray Roll from the Bronx, he was the one that translated Hip Hop Junkies for us back in 91.
Okay.
And so, he passed away. Now it's been almost 2 years, right, Ray Roll? Oh, my God. And he lived on my block on Bedford Park. And so, when I did before, I was thinking about him, like, because, I'm thinking about different things, and I'm trying to cut it down into 3 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't gonna tell my whole life story in this motherfucker's song. And plus, I got a lot out in the song I told you about, Betrayal. So I said, I'm gonna just rock with this. But I kept thinking about Ray. And I said, you know what? I gotta do a Spanish version. So I hit him, and so it's before the Spanish Fly Mix. And I go, ya lo ves que tú me quedas azul. Besé ayer, necesito tu luz. Pasa los años, sigo contando. Hoy me levanto y no estás a mi lado. When I was young, I had to be, you know what I'm saying?
Nice.
Yeah.
You're getting more on the business side of things.
Yeah.
So what part of the epiphany did that, how did that take place?
I always wanted to have my own label. You know what I'm saying? And it's deep. Like, again, like you said, people saying, you're ahead of your time. I'll never forget this. Going back into the annals of Nice and Smooth, that Nice and Smooth history. So, okay, first of all, for people that don't know, I came into the music industry writing for Bobby Brown. All right, fine. So, when I used to travel with Bobby, I would hear all of these stories. And I was just like a sponge. I was soaking it in. So when I came into the music industry, I was like, yo, man, I want to have my own label, man. And, so I said, what is it? What, you have to have a distributor? I'm asking questions, Sometimes I get the answers, and sometimes I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Depending upon who I was asking.
Right.
So initially, we were these kids. We made Skill Trade, Dope on the Rope and all that, but we was trying to get a distribution deal. So everybody was like, y'all are what? Get out of here. Nobody get no damn distribution deal. Now, we get a record deal. You know what I'm saying? So I would talk to my Uncle Linwood, right? And I would tell him, I was like, yo, Unc, man, one day I want to have my own record company, man. I want to have my own label, man, And he'd say, yeah. He said, that's a good thing. He said, but you know what? Take advantage of the opportunities you have now. He said, you're actually, all right, you're part of a company. All right, fine. He said, for the most part, they give you, your creative freedoms, more or less. I was like, yeah. I said, but every time we create something, they're trying to shoot the shit down because they don't understand what the fuck we creating, man. And I'm like, just rock with me, man. I mean, come on. So he's like, okay. He said, but you know what? He said, here's the good thing. He said, learn, watch, and pay attention to how they run their company.
Get paid to learn.
Yeah. get paid to learn. So I was like, yeah. He said, don't get as I know it's frustrating. He said, but try not to get as frustrated. Just learn from them how not to treat people. And I was like, oh, shit, that's right. You know what I'm saying? So time went on, and I was just like, and then it always been in the back of my mind. And I was like, but I always wanted to be in a position where I could help more than harm. You know what I'm saying? I was like, and the industry was just changing so much. So especially in the 90s, I would meet all these different young, talented kids, but they really didn't have a clue, like, really. So I was trying to school them, and they would be looking at me like, what are you talking about? Smooth was like, no, it's not really like that. All right, no, it goes like this. And no. I said, no. And I would try to tell people, I'm trying to tell these little cats before they get in the game that, like, I'm trying to teach them about recoupable funds. And oh no, they take that shit back, homie. That's like
a loan.
Right, it's a loan. And they would be looking at me, like that only happens to you. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yeah, but of course years later they're, you're right, Smooth, whatever. But so now it was only fitting. Then the whole industry changed. And actually everything came back to the hands of the artist. But a lot of people, they just, maybe people don't want to research how it's done. I like to learn, man. So I'm like, all right. So I took my time these last few years. I was like, okay, so how does that go? All right. You blog? You know what I'm saying? I just want to learn this shit. And then I said I have to surround myself with people that know more about this shit than I do. You know what I'm saying? So when I get to a certain point, I just give me the basics. And then just let me get back in the lab, because that's where I'm most comfortable. I do me, and I come back and I go, all right, let's rock it like this. And so that's where we at. And once Barnes Entertainment is really, really up and smashing, come on, man, I'm an artist. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not, people that know me, man, know that I've never been greedy. I'm not that type, dog. And I'm going to school you on how the shit goes, so you ain't coming back to me messing with me later. I'm like, look, this is how the shit go. Ba, 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 boom, 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 and boom, boom, boom. You ready? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Sheesh. But it's funny because now, people have to work. They have to invest in themselves. Before anybody would take it. So nowadays, basically, anybody that I would be bringing on probably would have their own things in the can already. Like, yo, I already did my video. I got so much amount of likes. Shit like that. So I'm like, okay, well, come on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what's beyond what your uncle had told you? How, like, you've been on, two iconic labels in particular. Of the three main ones you've been on, with Sleeping Bag, Fresh, and then Def Jam. Like, at each stage of those parts of your career, what did you really learn from one to the other to apply now?
Basically, from Sleeping Bag, Sleeping Bag really just didn't. I'm gonna keep it 100. I can curse on your show, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Sleeping Bag didn't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? They just didn't care, man. Like, I would look at these guys, just be like, and you gotta understand, I think from running, now imagine that dynamic. I'm running around with Bobby Brown. I'm hanging around New Edition.
Right.
I'm going to occasional meetings at MCA Records. So I'm seeing things companies run.
Right.
And then I later signed with Sleeping Bag Records. And, that door basically opened more or less through Greg Nice, because he was doing beatbox with Tila Rock, right, and so forth and so on. So when we finally made our demo or whatever, he was riding around with them going to a show with Tila Rock, and he happened to play one of our songs. And they were like, just come over with us. Why are you guys going to, because they had never heard him rap before. I put the battery in Greg back because Greg didn't want to rap at that time. I was like, come on, man, you gonna rap? One thing led to another. So they're hearing him rap, and they're hearing me. And who's this guy, So like, well, come on through. We'll give you a single deal, And then the single deal ended up being an album deal. But I'll never forget, man. I keep it 100%. I keep it honest with you. The first day I walked up in Sleeping Bag with Greg, I smelled weed. Now, we not talking about now. Shit legal.
Right.
I'm talking about in 88.
Right.
Late 87. We walked up in Sleeping Bag in a hole, and there wasn't Rasta. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, what the fuck? So I smell the weed. I'm like, okay, what the fuck is going on? So, and I see all these boxes and shit. And I come through and I see Just Ice. He was the first artist that I saw, that was a part of the label. And he just like, yo, what's up, Greg? And he was like, yo, this is my man Smooth. I meet him and I give, just a pound. But as time went on, I see Just, it's different time, Just coming in there wilding for his money. Where the fuck is my money? And he's turning tables and shit over. I'm sitting there like, what the fuck have I got myself in? This is, because I had those episodes. I grew up around all of that. I know the streets and all of that by this time. And I just want to make music, dude. So I'm like, I didn't know how synonymous the streets and the game were. I didn't know back then. I just was like, oh man, shit, you make some music, you ain't got to look over your shoulders, you ain't ducking no cops, This is a beautiful thing. I'm sitting there and seeing some of the antics of some of these other artists and what they going through, not to realize that I was going to have to go through the same shit, and then they were going to file bankruptcy and leave us, in debt, and owing us $500,000 and all that crazy shit. So, welcome to the music industry at that time, And so, but here's how God works. One of the only stipulations in the contract that they agreed to was a bankruptcy clause. Go figure.
Right.
So, with the bankruptcy clause, it entitled us and enabled us to get full ownership of our publishing and our catalog.
Wow.
Woo!
That's a big thing. You
know what I'm saying? So when we came into Def Jam, we came in with owning our publishing and everything. And then Def Jam, they didn't know about the clause. So they find out later, of course, like, wait, no, you own that shit?
Yeah,
well, give it up.
As a matter of fact, we do.
Yeah, so it's like, give it up. You know what I'm saying? We're like, give it. What manner of language is that? Where they talk that shit at? You know what I'm saying? Like, we just took a loss, bruh. Like, anybody around here? Well, we brought y'all out the contract. Shit, we entitled to the Whoa, guys. Let's just make a decent publishing deal, co-publishing deal, and we can work from here. I was just giving this shit. It's not gonna happen, pal. You know what I'm saying? How about you give me that $500,000 that they owe us? If that's the case, you paid them. So they got paid twice.
Right. They double dipping.
Come on, what part of the game is that? So it was that type of thing. So, seen all of that shit. And so from Def Jam now from Sleeping Bag to Def Jam now, there was two different worlds. These motherfuckers at Sleeping Bag, I gotta touch on them one more time. This shit was so savage. They'd be like, like, let's say they said, come through next Tuesday and we'll have your advance for your album. We get there Tuesday, they got half of the advance and some weed. What kind of crackish bullshit is this? So I'm like, oh nah, where that bread at? So I'm different, you know what I'm saying? Right. And G is younger than me, you know what I'm saying? So some of that shit be like, yo, we got a fucking ounce of weed. Man, fuck that weed. Hey, yo, what's up with my money, man? And they just be like, yo, your partner is being difficult. I'm like, you're not telling me when the fuck I'm gonna get my paper.
Right.
I can't go and pay, and plus, I was a young father, so I'm like, I can't pay with this fucking weed here, man. Are you shitting me? And so we would go through it, Now, Def Jam, whole nother animal. So it was a structure. So when we signed to Def Jam, man, I was fucking excited, dude. I was like, yo, let's go, yeah, we got a shot. They, they're setting up. They have departments,
right?
And they're setting up appointments for us to do MTV. You know what I mean? And I felt way more comfortable at Def Jam, But then it was a little glitch creatively, but other than that, everything else was cool. I enjoyed the Def Jam experience. But weirdly enough, Greg didn't. I don't know why you didn't like Def Jam. I was like, wait a minute. You like the Sleeping Bag shit, but you don't like Def Jam. We rolling, baby.
Right.
We would go through it. Yeah.
Well, it's different. It's as you are well aware, a lot of people's careers, it's a lot of happenstance and a lot of things, and were you making better music on Def Jam than Fresh? Maybe, maybe not, or Sleeping Bag Fresh, but maybe, maybe not. But you were getting on the radio more, you were getting this more, you were getting that more.
Right.
And that's a huge difference that a lot of people don't really, when they look at records, they don't understand everything around a record that has to work for it to be successful.
Yes.
They don't get that.
No.
And they never look at it that way, like, oh, this person should be bigger, this song is whack, or this is great, or...
Right.
But it's like there's so much beyond the song itself.
So many components, man.
Yeah. It's remarkable. And that's why before it's so remarkable that on your own, that you're, having the success and getting, 6-figure views and blowing up.
Man, it's a beautiful thing, man. And that's why I say to God be the glory, man. I cannot take, full credit. I'm gonna do my part. But it's beyond my listen, dude. In the last 2 months I went #1 on 3 different charts, dude. So I'm just like, well, touche, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to DRT. Shout out to Urban Influencer and Radio. Wait. No, I hate this. Wait, Radio. So it's Urban Influencer, Radio Perfect. Oh shit, I'm fucking up.
Well,
the 3. I love y'all.
Well, there it is.
Yeah.
All right, Smooth B.
Yes.
Always a pleasure, sir.
My brother, all the time, son. You know how we do.
Thank you for coming through to Unique Access. As always, Smooth B in the building, man.
Yes,
Make sure
man,
you
love y'all, man.
listen to all of his music. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And we'll get him come back later.
Yeah, I'll be back. Yo, when I drop this album, I'm coming back to do the whole shit with you, man.
Let's do it.
All right, son. Much love, baby.
We on it.
Peace, y'all.
Yes.